Mom said, "What are we doing?" And I said, "I'm just going to start."
And that's one way of doing it. Here we go. Good morning.
Good morning. Welcome if you're new here. Welcome back if you're a returning viewer. This is Jackson Rose, a podcast about makers and our making process, and knitting and quilting and painting and poetry. And we're coming to you from this time from the Bounty in Madison, Wisconsin.
And you'll see me darting my eyes around because there's so much distraction and beautiful things here.
Yes.
Lots of inspiration, which we'll get to the inspiration part a little bit.
Absolutely. Mm-hmm. And Sally, if you don't know, is my mother.
Yes.
Yes. And I like to start with a poem, and today we're going to start with Keats.
Okay.
And I was listening to Charlene came to visit, my dear friend Charlene, and she was listening to a David Whyte audiobook. And I'm very familiar with Keats and negative capability, and what that term, if you don't know, it means not grasping over certainty, but making room for uncertainty, for mystery, for doubt, for the conversation with the universe. And I knew that.
The unknowing.
Yes, the unknowing. But David Whyte pointed out that Keats and Coleridge had another creativity that they referred to too. The one that we think of as all of this making that we do, or projects or planning, is secondary. And the very first creativity is the primary one, and that's creating your identity, your place in the world, who you are, and how that shifts all the time. And to understand that that's an act of creativity and not just an act of psychology, I think is quite wonderful, and a good reminder for me in this time of change.
Yeah, so it's what happens when you get up in the morning and the choices you make.
Yeah.
It's a fresh day.
Exactly. So I thought I would read, I brought some books into the Bounty for the residency too. Books of art, books of poetry, and sometimes people ask me, what's a good beginner's poetry book? And I do think these anthologies, the Poetry Remedy, there's a series of 3 of them. There's a shop in London. They are very fun because there's both the poem and then a little intro to it, which can be very nice.
That is good.
And I will apologize, turn up your volume if necessary. We are right outside a busy street. It's December.
We're close to all the medical hubbub in the city, so there will be ambulances. And
yes. And it's December 17th.
Isn't it the 16th?
Okay. Is it?
Because I thought it was
right.
the 15th.
You're right. No,
it's easy to get lost.
I can tell you why in a minute when I talk about my Advent project, why I'm off a day.
And see, I'm always doing my dot project, my one circle a day, and I went out and did that, and it was the 16th.
Okay, excellent. This is from a longer poem, but it's a very famous excerpt, and this is from Keats. And it begins, "A thing of beauty is a joy forever. A thing of beauty is a joy forever. Its loveliness increases. It will never pass into nothingness, but still will keep a bower quiet for us and sleep, full of sweet dreams. A thing of beauty is a joy forever. Its loveliness increases. It will never pass into nothingness, but will keep a bower quiet for us and asleep, full of sweet dreams and health and quiet breathing. Therefore, on every morrow, are we wreathing a flowery band to bind us to the earth, spite of despondence, of the inhuman dearth, of noble natures, of the gloomy days, of all the unhealthy and o'er-darkened ways, made for our searching, yes, in spite of it all. Made for our searching, yes, in spite of it all. Some shape of beauty moves away the pall from our dark spirits, such the sun, the moon, trees old and young, sprouting a shady boon for simple sheep. And such are daffodils with the green world they live in, and clear rills that for themselves a cooling covert make against the hot season. The mid-forest brake, rich with sprinkling of fair musk rose blooms. And sure, too, is the grandeur of the dooms we have imagined for the mighty dead. All lovely tales that we have heard or read, an endless fountain of immortal drink, pouring unto us from the heaven's brink.
Oh, that's beautiful.
Mm-hmm. All lovely tales that we have heard or read, an endless fountain of immortal drink, pouring unto us from heaven's brink. Oh, it's so beautiful. And here come those sirens that we promised
right.
you.
Oh, I know. And I just, every time you hear them, you go, oh, gratitude.
Mm-hmm.
Wow.
Absolutely. So that was Keats. And I think I don't quite know I've been laying in bed trying to wrap my mind around this episode, and safe to say it's a very transitional episode.
Right. It's busy. There's a lot going on.
Mm-hmm. And so it won't take on the traditional format of finished objects and wits and things like that. This is more of a life update, but I do have a project to ground you in. And
experiencing a different lifetime right now and hadn't made other choices, I think I would be a knitter that did yokes all the time because they're so beautiful and so fun. And she does beautiful color work in her yokes. But it's always down the list of things I want to be doing. So that's why I enjoy this one.
But a beautiful yoke and a beautiful color play.
Well, I mean, I have your beautiful sweaters behind me, and then I look out and you see the red beautiful sweater over there. I'm like a little kid in here.
Well, let me tell you guys about the Bounty. You're seeing just the front window, one of the front windows, and it's called the Bounty Environmental Narratives, and it is owned by Jay Henley and his partner Molly, and then they have another partner, Joey, and it's full of antiques and vintage clothing. But it isn't just a warehouse full of these products. They are arranged in narratives and meaningful displays, and it is a place of business that is what its ethos is, to be a community hub. So there are one of the wheels of that is this artist in residency program where people like me as a knitter, or before me was Jack, who was a woodworker, and before that there was a painter. And I'll put some of their, if I have time, I'd love to show you some of their work and put some pictures, insert here, of the kinds of art that they do. Michael Dibble does beautiful sewing, and I say sewing, but I mean he creates the garments from scratch, his own patterns, and he will take clothing and restore it, and true one-of-a-kind art pieces. So, you know, Jack, who was here before me, was a Welch stick furniture maker, and so that was wonderful. So back here were planes and woodworking tools. And now it's yarn and sweaters. And the caveat for that is that, I mean, we can just be here and be around, do our art, come in, knit, throw pots. There was a potter here. And if we do sell work, part of the proceeds go to a local charity. So the local charity that I chose was the Goodman Center here in Madison, which is been around my whole life.
Oh yes, it's wonderful.
It's a place to come and look for antiques and books and records and clothing.
And Jay is so fun because he'll work with, I've seen him work with young people, and they'll try this jacket on and that, and because when you go thrifting, you don't always have somebody that knows their line of clothes as well as he does. And
Right.
so he'll
I'm
bring
gonna
out
grab
things
one
for
thing.
you
Right.
and, try them on. And, I think we're going to bring my grandsons in here to look for things for their cousin's wedding in January. Because they're just fabulous.
Jay was in the fashion industry for a whole career, so he has random things like this, regimental colors, which this isn't focusing, but it's a whole box of different, and maybe I can take, of different universities and colleges. Oh, and it's in numerical order, so I shouldn't just flip through it like that. I should keep it in the right order. So, and downstairs he has, I put it on Instagram, a file cabinet of I would say 40 drawers at least, and it's different tartans, different seersuckers, different
and he's
corduroys,
promised to take me
different
to the
stripes.
textile.
He has a textile library, and it's just his enthusiasm is vast. His insight is, and his experience.
Well, he's so generous, open-hearted, and generous.
So he also works with the university. He's an adjunct professor with the fashion department here, and literally when I'm here, it's such a vital, incredibly vital place. And one of the things that makes it so vital is it's multi-age.
Yes.
So young all sorts of different age groups come through here and enjoy themselves here.
And I've seen several four-leggeds. It's kind of cute.
Dogs.
Yes. Jay loves dogs, so that's very nice.
I have been immersed in this world and profoundly grateful to, and I did some Instagram lives. And so this may be redundant to some of you. Charlene came out for the beginning of my residency, and we did an Instagram live together. Really, when I accepted the position of doing this, I did feel flattered and honored to represent knitters, and it really has profoundly had an impact on me to recognize, to work with somebody and have them. I mean, I'm not currently displaying this I have the camera focused on us.
Right.
And I'm not taking you through the work, because if you've been around, you've seen my work. But to have somebody like that decide which pieces they want and to put them on the wall and recognize the time that they took to make and recognize, like we started with it, that a thing of beauty is a joy forever. And that feels pretty amazing to be given that opportunity. And that's sort of an expected, unexpected, and I could linger there. Do you have anything you want to say about that in terms of you've had quilt shows before, and how, when you have a showing and you have your things on display for the public?
Oh, it's very invigorating, because it's very, I can just speak personally, it's a big vulnerable step to put your things out there for the public, because it's I like this and I'm finding joy in making it, but is anybody going to really care? Is anybody going to really come and look at it? And all those little crazy little self-doubts. And there's something about honoring yourself and your craft, your art, whatever it is, that's so bigger than you.
Yes.
That's the thing, is it's bigger. It opens you up another whole,
yes,
to it. It's the opening that is so incredible.
I've really loved seeing these pieces without me in them, without the context of every day, without making outfits out of them, just seeing them on their own. And it's like you offer them out into the world of art and artistry.
Right, and then it's not like you're going into a store to go through the racks and go, I need a Christmas sweater, or whatever. And, it's more like people are, they're coming in and they're going, wow, I didn't even know this existed. There's been so many new to the whole process of knitting here that I've been enjoying.
Yes, it's really wonderful to have had all this time to show knitting to non-knitters, and young people, old people, men, women alike.
Well, I remember this man asking, because I was saying this is I can't remember even who the designer was, and he goes, "There's designers?" And I just wanted to go, "Oh, let me tell you, yes, welcome, step into our world. There are so many, in every form. Like there's designers, there's dyers, there's people that bring the farmers that bring the wool. It's just so in depth."
Well, so that's that's about the bounty. Is it shifts your perspective. It certainly has shifted mine, which can be too close to myself sometimes. And it's allowed me to step away from it. I mean, I know the stories in all of these sweaters, but these sweaters are part of a bigger story of, frankly, of women and making and the slowness of it all. And when they're offset with like the whole other part of the store is vintage clothing, and there are the stories of people. Jay's collected things from people, obviously, who are not even alive anymore, and he knows their stories of what they had and why they had it, etc. And I really love this place that is about storytelling.
That sweater yesterday, I remember the Birken. Why do you say that? The ski race in northern Wisconsin. The Birkenbach, is that what it is? But anyway, there was a beautiful hand knit sweater that had Birkenbach, we'll say, knitted across it and it was so sweet because the person that was buying it, Jay, said, "Oh, that's my partner's wife's father, and he was famous in the race, and they even have a place part up there that's named after him." And so there was this garment that this person was probably buying for a loved one, and then Jay could fill in all the story behind it, and it was like, wow, you don't find that at LL Bean or J. Crew or no, it's just lovely.
And even coming through here with Charlene, it was so fun to play dress up with her. And Jay's prices are, I think he wants these things to move through our lives. Yes, so they are, and yet his capacity to collect things and have them be interesting is amazing.
Oh yeah, and I loved watching him because he folds things and then he'll take the mannequins and he dresses them again. And I heard him talking about the mannequin that right when you come in the door, and he had a velvet man's jacket on there with this beautiful scarf, and you just don't get much time to go, because I was looking at that beautiful scarf and it was a wool patchwork scarf with a corduroy base, the corduroy one side and then the different wool scraps, and it was like, wow, that's quilterly, that was beautiful. And it just walked out the door within 10 minutes of me feeling it and examining it and going, wow. But at least what I love about this place is I could go home. I have that idea tucked away in my brain now, because it's like, when I see yarn scraps or whatever, because that's what we do, is we bounce off of each other. That's what your whole residency we're finding is a collaboration of many years of our. And
it's another layer of respecting yourself. And this is not about, my sense of self-awareness and self-concept is fine, but it's an invitation always for you and yours as well.
And I also want to say to you, I am very proud of you. And you have some of the most gorgeous pieces of art and yarn, and they're just beautiful. So I'm very grateful that you have this place to showcase this.
Thank you.
They're beautiful.
Well, I was going to say this. There's a quote. I can't read you any quotes that are in my phone, but there's a quote, and some people find it controversial, whatever. everything is, isn't it? About an aristocracy of spirit.
Mm-hmm.
And it's E.M. Forster, and he's talking about creative people. And how that resonates with me when I think about it, like obviously Nietzsche didn't like it, thought it was classist. But an aristocracy to me would just mean people who own land, right?
And that's the original.
Right. And your body is your home. And so if you have done the work to be in your body, to be with all of it, to accept the shadows, to plunge, find the gold, to accept yourself, to love yourself, to discover new things about yourself, that to me is the land that you are the aristocracy. That's what it's referring to. Because what I notice is, for instance, you know, when we were here, we were invited to a gathering of artists here in town, and they were all strangers. And it was just like, okay, sure, we'll go. And it was a wonderful mix of people. And what I noticed about them is no one was, you know, paying too much homage to anyone else, because they knew that we were all collectively doing the same work. We were grieving. We were wondering. We were problem solving.
Asking
we were questions. Exactly. And so we weren't trying to get anything from each other, but we were just with each other in sort of a solidarity. And that felt amazing to me. Because sometimes the dynamic in our world can be that there are people put on pedestals and they're hierarchical, and there's a lot of comparison. And who doesn't do that? We all do. But going back to that aristocracy of spirit, it means that you're doing the work and you're not asking other people to do the work for you. You're doing your own work to, you know, self-talk and soothe yourself and ask your questions and take your risks and follow up on your hunches and things like that. So, which leads to, for example, this young woman came in named Paige, and she spent the whole day here. And she was, I guess way back, she had contacted me on the phone, and I had done a FaceTime and helped her with some knitting, which I don't even remember, but I guess I did. So that's what I am trying to say. It was wow about her, because she doesn't really know me, but she decided to take a risk and come spend time and ask questions and hang out. And so she's doing that work for herself.
Oh, and she just gave so much enthusiasm, and she's got such creative ideas for herself. And it was like definitely that I love young people for that, you know, the bouncing back and forth. Because it's all, you know, we're all like in this circle of creative.
Right. Well, and so in knitting, there's the twofold thing. Like, I definitely want to share and be inspired, but I always want it to be like that we're peers.
Open.
You know, that we're peers, and we are all so lucky to have this craft that we share. And so that feels very good to me. But then the other unexpected thing about the bounty, and I don't think I'll know how to talk about it without crying, is I have such good news, and I'm so happy, and I am really overjoyed, and I'm going to keep that to myself for a while, just for me, you know, the good news of all of that. But it means that I'm moving. And so here I am, home, and I'm moving away from home. And so this residency coming right now, it's amazing. It's like, it's this fact of life that we're temporary. I know this. I know, here comes another siren to remind us. We've lost my father. We've you know, we've lost your mother, like all of you. We know life is temporary. We're in the club.
Mm-hmm.
And we know those experiences of loss or whatever are help us live more compassionately, and they help us live more with more urgency and go toward what really matters to us. I know that. And I know that I am overjoyed and so excited about this next chapter in my life. But this residency also comes at like an absolute pivot where I'm leaving here.
Mm-hmm.
And this has been my home. I was born and raised here, and my
yes. And you're not going to be that far away.
No, I know. No, I mean, I'm so happy.
I know.
I'm so happy.
Mm-hmm.
But I also love my family so much, and I didn't. And this residency has given me a chance to like slow down enough and to be here enough, and to have people from like people that weren't even expecting to see me, who were just passing through.
I know
I've just been having all these wonderful interactions, and you couldn't ask for more beautiful send off than what I'm having, And it is true, because I'm still here, you know. I'm still going to be here very regularly.
And I am not minimizing it, because it is a big deal.
Yeah.
It's a big change.
Yeah, it is a big change. And I'm just coming into this maturity that I couldn't have known until I lived it. That like going toward what you want is fantastic. But it involves letting go of things. And that's just the human.
It is.
It's just being human. So, and that's more of that mystery. Like, it just feels like such incredible. This is all about me, so I'm sorry,
okay.
but that's a beautiful thing, and I'm super, super grateful for that too. And you know, Jay watched our last podcast together, saw Sally's art, and invited her to come down. And she has artwork on both of the walls, some of her watercolors and some of her notebooks here. And so, you know, and I displayed things. I think I have, you know, I displayed things to show like the influence, like how Sally, and brought in some of the quilts that have influenced me that Sally's made, etc. So this idea of collaboration to me is truly, it's not distance from love. It is literally another flavor or nuance of love. To labor with somebody else, to be in your body, laboring, having ideas, making them happen, manifesting them. And I just feel so honored, and I'm very excited to have this reflective opportunity. And we all do this craft, like most of you. Some of you are just maybe, I don't know, hello if you're just watching and you're not a knitter. But I think there's value in this episode if you can vicariously have some distance from your own hustle and hurry and urgency and maybe perfectionism or whatever it is, to pause and look at your body of work, that like from beginning to end, and think, what has this meant to me? How have I changed because of this? Who has it brought into my life? Because it really has brought all these people into my life, and it is why it's why this is all unfolding the way it is going toward creativity.
Well, I know, and that's what I love about this community in the worldwide, whatever out there, and Instagram, is because it's a way of sharing our commonality of, you know, creativity. Because for me, it started out with Instagram as basically my place to keep a record of the things I make and the life happenings and the people I care about. So the you know, when you showed me, I remember was like the lights went up, the highlight circles,
Mm-hmm.
and like, oh, Mom, you can just take your things and
Mm-hmm.
put them in there. And so they're there. And it's like, I think about it in terms of my gratitude journal when I was going through my lymphoma treatment, which, thank God, that was 2 years ago this season, where I was in. Right now I'd be kind of in between chemo and radiation, and so I have this whole little highlight journey of my gratitude journal.
Mm-hmm.
And so the making and the people and all that stuff is there. And I think what I'm trying to say is that our creativity in whatever art form, whatever way we express it, is a way of holding a little piece of that moment in something tangible. Because like I look behind me, I can see I took up watercolor this past year. And so, that's been a very joyful discovery of color and a different format than sewing.
Mm-hmm.
It's a little bit looser and freer.
Mm-hmm.
So I've been very grateful for that, because it has been like getting me back in touch with the little girl me, like
yes, play.
The little girl, the play,
Mm-hmm.
which I think is so important.
That feels like. Can I segue to?
Yes. Mm-hmm.
Okay. You have in your lap.
Yes, I love this.
A half and half wrap, and let's get you in we'll get you in color,
because it's so beautiful,
right? Mm-hmm. So, Pearl Soho linen quill half and half wraps.
Oh.
Literally, the Pearl Soho linen quill palette was one of the things in my creative life as a knitter that opened me up, because I actually.
Let them know what linen quill is made out of, because it's, I'm sorry, I didn't want to.
It's wool, linen, and alpaca.
Yeah, so that's so light and lovely.
And I actually invested in all sorts of skeins of linen quill before COVID happened. And I had this incredible palette, and it wasn't and I was making half and half wraps. And anyways, and making them with community, and had that, and Caddy Jack's Knits, we had a knit along and Half Wrap Nation and whatnot. And
it was just such a comforting knit.
It really
took a
was.
Long time, but just basically gartered. Or it says
it is gartered.
It is gartered. Yeah.
She's blocking it out, and it is cute, because people, again, I will say, some of the pieces in this residency are for sale for charity. But none of my half and half wraps are for sale for charity, because they're just a part of my life.
Well, and we use them all the time.
We use them all the time, and they're just so a part of me. Mm-hmm. And I've given them away, but I wouldn't sell them. And there's a huge difference to that. So this time of year, Mom was talking about creativity and how it slows time. And one of the things that Mom has done is she has done 100-day projects, and one of the things that I've done is advents. Mm-hmm. And I've done mindfulness advents and poetry advents. I particularly love doing the poetry advents with Amy Pelko. She and I have both been so busy that that's not happening, obviously, this season. We would do them to solstice. But I knew that wasn't going to happen, but I still wanted to mark the time. Mm-hmm. And so and way back, I think it was 2022, Caitlin and I got an advent from, I can't even, right now I can't remember all the things. Hello, Stella, I think was the name. And I made an advent shrug for Shrug season. And I was so excited. I've been meaning to make an advent shrug forever and ever. And Shrug season is this collection of shrug patterns that I put out this summer. And here, I don't know, it's not going to focus. I actually have it, and I could put it on. I guess I'll get it for you. I have the Advent shrug right here.
Oh, I love that one.
So I'll put it on for a second. And this was all based on Marie Antoinette and the Sofia Coppola's movie version of her, right? So this is,
God, that's beautiful.
yeah, this is part of Shrug season. And I knew people had Advents or minis or leftovers, so I definitely wanted to do something for them along those lines. So this is the Advent Shrug. And I wanted to make one, they are just
So
like
warm.
well they're definitely like it's cold in here, but I could easily wear a shrug instead of my coat. And why wouldn't I? But I'm going to take it off because I want you to see my new Advent as on its own. So the Pearl Soho linen quill mini skein set as an opportunity to play, because I'm just such a massive fan. I also
the colors are so
their palette is just amazing. Go from the half and half. I will just also show a couple other linen quill things, that I've done. So this was the shawl I was working on. I'm folding this wrong. When I went to the Bounty and saw an installation, and Jay said, "What are you working on?" And I showed him my bag, and he was like, "Oh." So
it's gorgeous.
this Soho Square, I think, is what he first saw me do and invited me in to do the artisan residency. And you can see right back there is a Friday shrug in linen quill. So this is a Soho Square in linen quill, a Friday shrug in linen quill, a half and half. And then what I'm working on right now is an Advent. And so I believe you can buy them in sets of 20 or a set of 40, and I believe there's like 61 colors total. So I had the set of 40, and what I did is and it doesn't come in that box. People have asked me, that's a shoe box of mine. And by the way,
that's beautiful.
This is from a wonderful knitter who helps remind me to be mindful, Susan. And this is the name of the actual maker. I'll put in the show notes, but these bags are just glorious. So I've loved getting to use her beautiful embroidery. For my inspiration for this shrug, I just was back from England, and I adored the aesthetic in England. The age, the patina, and so this is sort of a dream interior space for me, and one that just fills my imagination. And so what I did is I took colors of linen quill from this page to set up my Advent, and this is what it looks like so far. And you can I'm sure you can see the relation, and the way that works, of course, is there's neutral in between the colors to set the colors off, and every day I put in another color, more or less, because this particular thing has marling and different colors have different weights. It's all in shrug season, so it's not just it's fun because I get to actually use 2 colors a day,
right.
but I finish all together with 1 color in the day. So the reason why I was off a day is because I know it's the 16th just by looking at this. And at any rate, but I thought it was the 7th. I often knit it a day ahead, so I can photograph it in the morning and share it with people on Instagram. So that's why I was off when I said the date. But this is the Advent Shrug, and I absolutely adore it. And I suppose I'm going to just say a couple things that I was so moved and surprised. Just recently, Sandy by the Lakeside, she did an episode about the shrugs, and
In her Vlogmas.
in her Vlogmas, and I had sent Sandy when I had made the shimmer shrug, which I will, which is here, and I can get up and show you. But I might as well, since I have these things around, and it is a knitting podcast. When I made this, a shrug, there was enough for actually 3 shrugs when I purchased the 9-note bundles from Pearl Soho. So this is oh gosh, they feel so.
I love this, adding that story.
Yeah, and I wasn't sure if Sandy would like that or not, so I didn't do it for her. And then I also sent it to another friend of mine. So these things hold, actually everything I knit holds meaning and stories and connections. Pretty much that's just how I knit, because I don't want to spend time doing something just to have a product.
No.
So that led me to a new design, which I'm just going to preview here because I don't have the pattern ready to release, but I can show you. Recently, Amy Pelko showed her shimmer shrug on the Meaningful Stitches, her podcast, and what was so neat, Pearl Soho sent she and Claire, who's on the side, and Claire's making an absolutely gorgeous Soho square right now. So you should definitely follow her. All her projects are gloriously beautiful, and she has some designs that I still want to make. We arranged together, and they chose 2 colors, and they shared them, between the 2 of them. So one of them has, one set of colors being the featured main color, fun. And one of them has another being the feature color. And again, it's to foster, in my mind, like I want to knit and be wearing memories and wearing meaning. I can, I don't know, otherwise why spend the time? So when I went to Rhinebeck this year, prior to Rhinebeck, I was just going for a walk, and I just thought, actually Charlene had made a shimmer shrug too, and if you saw the Instagram live, and I'll try to pop a picture in, she had made a shimmer shrug to help release Shrug Season 2, and her shrug was the grays and then penny. And she just used a little bit of penny, and she had all this penny left over. And I was thinking, how can I use these 9-note kits, more efficiently? And also, I had recently made Amy Pelko's The Giver, which I happen to have right here. You guys see this all the time. And this shape, this long scarf, I actually, I love how a shrug feels. I love how a half and half wrap feels, or Soho square. And I love a long scarf that doesn't go anywhere. It just, you put it on and it stays put. So I decided to make a long, beautiful, a long, and I'll just show you that also these have, they have so many possibilities on how they show up to, based on how you wrap it around yourself and how you wear it, etc. So this will be the skinny pop scarf, because it uses 2 complete 9-note bundles, and then there's an accent color. And because I've been doing so many of these 9-note projects, I have accents. And the skinny pop is, I travel so much, and what I eat when I'm traveling is skinny pop. It's my favorite little airport snack. So these little skinny pops are put in, and actually, I don't know, it's just like the Soho Square, where I have done the math very, very carefully, and I have been attentive to the Fibonacci numbers and those proportions and prime numbers. And so everything from the width of the scarf to the depths of the stripes, I have tested to make sure that the proportions are pleasing, and including like the values and the way the values are dynamic.
Oh, it's beautiful. And that yarn it's so soft.
The 9-note yarn is incredible. So beautiful. So there are several still on my needles and on other people's needles. So I want to, wow you and release it all in the very near future. But I will say, I guess, to those of you who are watching, that I have worked with Pearl Soho to have an affiliate link with them, so that if you purchase a 9-note bundle or a linen quill, those or the linen quill minis, then some percentage of that will go to me and help me. And if you would like to do that, that's amazing, because it helps me keep on making designs. And I am going to say one thing about the designing process is it does take you out of the whirl of getting to make the next thing and the next thing and the next thing and the next thing, which I love, but I actually want to make a design and make it thoroughly and really explore it and understand it before I release it to you, and know it inside out and all sorts of iterations, so that you have something really expansive in your hands when you go ahead and get the pattern. And that's why I'm not going to rush myself or anything like that. And I don't want you to feel rushed to do anything or ask, there's no rush is what I'm saying. It'll come into all of our lives at just the right time. But this literally popped on my needles when I was sitting at Kristen's house at Rhinebeck. And I can attest to having this small tube grow and have the color change is very, very, very pleasant experience.
Well, it motivates you to keep.
It's very motivating. And then the finished product, I guess I can, keep it on I just don't want to taunt you because it's not ready yet. The finished product is, I've worn these on walks, and they just wrap around your neck. They remind me of, how we talked about shrugs being a hug? This is like somebody putting a reassuring hand on both your shoulders and just grounding you in this soft, warm, loving way.
Like a thunder shirt almost, it's something when you need to have a weighted blanket.
Yeah, but it's a little more feminine than a thunder shirt, because it's not all over. So it is more like these two hands on your shoulder, just saying.
And these earrings, I have to say, are perfect with
Pittsburgh Mercantile. Thank
Those
you,
are
Susie.
Beautiful.
So that, but I really don't want this podcast is not meant to be, it isn't actually meant to introduce that. I'm just showing you because we're here together. I'm showing you because we're here together. And one thing leads to another. But one of the things I really wanted to do while we had all of this linen quill, because I have a whole wall of linen quill to play with right now, is I am going to ask Sally one of the things people have asked me how to design sometimes are Soho Squares and Friday Shrugs. And I'm going to ask Sally, this is kind of like doing tarot. We have this book here, this little book of a dictionary of color combinations. And I'm just going to let her leaf through for a minute the 4 color combinations, and we're going to see if we can find a Soho Square. And take your time, Mom. Soho Square for her. So here's one of the things that Kristen and I, who are both, we had our colors done, and we were, I don't know, we had feelings about it, and we had to do some adjusting. And one of the things about the Soho Square, which is so cool, is if your main colors are flattering to you and are neutral enough, then your contrast colors can be whatever you want, because they're just little pops. And of course, I have fur on, so I don't really need to. This is faux fur, by the way. But then you can have pops of whatever colors you want. And it's been fun to see the adaptations, because, for instance, excuse me, Charlene has been making winks lately where she puts seams in, and she introduces a 5th color, just a small amount, just one line of a 5th color to break these up. And just the littlest bit of color can do so much to change a project. So you could, Kristen will eventually probably show you, she's working on a Soho Square right now, where the colors that she was traditionally knitting with and was really drawn to, but maybe aren't as flattering on her, she's found a way to use them to great effect, but just a small amount of them. And that's been quite wonderful. And I will say along those lines too, and I'm talking color, so I'm not bouncing all over the place, but I am going to not distract you with a lot of color on the screen at once. I think I would find an Advent shrug hard to design if I was just trying to make it one at a time and just have it be pretty one at a time and just make something that's pretty. Like, it was very interesting to me because Charlene looked at this and she didn't like this blue, and of course that's fine. I had an idea that the blue would come back. Also, I personally, there are parts of this that I haven't liked, but I have a sense of what the whole thing is going to look like. So in terms of designing with 24 colors, one of the things that really inspired me along the way is it gives you this play to start to see like which colors end up being the loudest, even if they're more or less the same amounts, which ones pop out. And then you can start to know that and take it into something like a fair isle. Like Marie Wallen has 26, I put this in my stories, 26 colors in some of her fair isles, and Advent Shrug has 25. So you wrap your head around 25 and start realizing that you need different values, and some you need in different shades and how they play out. So what I tend to do when I do one of these is it isn't just close my eyes, grab one at a time. I do grab 6 sets of 4, and I lay my 6 sets of 4 out, and I get a main color that I spend a lot of time thinking about what this main color is that's going to ground my Advent Shrug. And then I know that, here is some rusty, here's some rust, here's some rust, and there will be more over here. I know here's bright blue, here's bright blue. I know here's green, I know green's coming again. So I don't want to act like I'm a magician and I'm just pulling out of a hat and that's how it's happening. No, I mean, pretty much And I'm going to be a 53-year-old woman and say, I know how to do color and not be modest about it.
Right.
But also say, it isn't just some like thing that like hides inside me. It's just, I use the world around me and play off the world around me. That Friday Shrug, that initial Friday Shrug was playing off of one of Pearl Soho's beautiful blankets that they had. And I didn't want to knit a blanket. So I really loved their proportions, and I was like, how can I play off of that? I saw their 9-note bundles, and the way they did it was random, like alternating but random. But those bundles I think they're called shimmer blankets. That's what inspired me. And this was inspired by Parker Thatch. You know, they have these wonderful bags, these gorgeous, like, there's this gigantic camo tote bag that I love. And then it has neon stripes. And I can't get it. So I made a Soho square because I wanted neon stripes on a neutral background. And so that was how I did that. So
this is like a kid in a candy store.
I know. So have you found a combo that you liked?
Oh, I did. And then
where did it go? Okay.
Okay, just a second. Couple things. I'm going to show you. These are that one.
Okay.
This one and this one.
Okay. So we're going to turn the camera off and we'll make one. Hold on.
Okay.
I mean, it may be, which one are you saying?
This is beautiful. This is influenced by here.
Oh, the Bounty.
The Bounty.
Okay. Because I only have 60 colors, so we'll see. Okay. And what's the other one?
That one, I just love this color and I love,
I feel like we could totally
I love that.
Okay. All right. And then you had a third, but I feel like I've lost it.
It's a purpley one. Yeah. But
right
it's
here?
Okay. No, it's way farther, then, but that's fine.
We're going to see what we can do. Hold on. Okay, it's funny because Mom was like, I don't want to wear the orange anymore, but I don't know how to wear these. So I always fold it in half. And which color do you want facing out?
The neutrally one with just a little bit of
So I put the tips over on the side, over there.
All right.
Do you see how the corner tips are over there? And then I wrap
ooh, that's nice.
The edge around the back, and then this can go just up there like that. And then see how there's nothing on one side, and then those pieces over there, and the color pops out? Okay, so come closer.
Okay.
So, so Sally chose this, and I was able, and I'm just following literally this and saying, so they pair it where you could imagine these being your main colors, which I could see being very easy to wear these as main colors.
Yeah, they're beautiful.
Right? And then pop this way. So, like, what a gorgeous pop of, like, neon and pale pink. I should put this. So that, beautiful. And then this one would pop this way.
Beautiful.
So that was lychee pink or lychee, peony pink, lemon lime, and kettle black. Anyways, so I mean, I love that, and that would never really, I actually have done whole half and half wraps with these two colors before, but combining them with these, how amazing and fun. I mean, these would be fine together too, and we could literally show it because I have them right there. Like, it's very much like what you're wearing right now, but you could see how if you added these extra colors.
Oh yeah, I love the dark, what that does.
Yeah, like, so this particular color is like honey pink, which I didn't pull off the wall, but anyways, gorgeous. And so that's one way to do a Soho square. And then, and it's funny how, isn't it funny how things, like, look at us right now, like, come closer. Do you see how our palette is, just happens to be, this is something that happens all the time with us. We just happen to be
drawn
to the same colors.
Okay.
So if you want to, I'm going to press pause and you get up and get whatever your inspo is, and I'm going to translate that into a Friday shrug.
Okay.
Okay. Boy, it is such a gray day, so it's
is.
And we have, but still you can see what a Friday shrug does on a gray day. And Friday shrugs are these giant fades of sort of one color family offset with, on either side, with something high contrast and then a tip to set it off. And I asked Mother, I said, well, we have all this linen quill here, so let's design one. And it is 9 colors. And so that can be intimidating for people. And again, I want to show the way you can use things you love to design knitwear. So you brought in a book and a quilt. Can you tell us about these pieces?
Yes, they are.
And I'm sorry about the focus, but...
Okay. The book was a Christmas book that we had, a board book when the boys were little.
Mm-hmm.
So it came into our life. It's just beautiful, and we'll share a little bit more about that.
Can you show them the inside?
Oh my goodness, the inside is full of these beautiful, it's all about a Christmas tree finding its way into
And even though it's not focusing, you can see the colors.
Colors are awesome. And also the little triangle tree shape.
Okay, keep going.
And I had, let me see if I can, so this is very useful. I had inherited my Grandma Johnson's, who's my great-great-grandmother's, Dresden plate quilt. And this is a block
Dresden
of
plate.
it. Well, it's a block of her quilt.
Okay.
And it was just a top.
Mm-hmm.
It was, you know, just there languishing like all
And
the...
what era are these
It's
fabrics?
the 1930s. And,
Okay.
you know, honestly, it was a little bit roughly done. The circles are kind of wonky.
Mm-hmm.
It was lovely, but I would never, you know, I didn't know anything about Grandma Johnson. She died 15 years before I was born.
Mm-hmm.
But she was a favorite of my mother's. My mother loved her and always talked about her. And so I decided to make, when I saw the triangle quilts and the, you know, is I realized...
What do you mean when I saw
the triangles in the illustrations?
Okay.
It immediately drew me to the Dresden plate and how when the Dresden plate is cut. Now this wasn't, I later made this into a block, but at the time it was just a top, no backing, all that kind of stuff. It was just the loose fabric. And I decided, I'm a quilter, I'm never going to use this quilt the way it is, so I decided to cut it, if you can imagine, and use the fabric. So I cut into it and I made these beautiful little triangles and I put it on a fabric. I was very much into using vintage fabrics from the family in my own quilting. And so this was the 2010 Christmas card or gift I made for my mother by just the joyful, you know, it's on a cloth of hers, the little green. It has my grandmother's buttons on it. And I gave it to her, and she was uncharacteristically, you know, like not cool about it. And, you know, and I'm like, well, look at this beautiful, I had so much fun making it, and I was so happy. And then it took me until I started exploring this whole, you know, and I've documented it many times. I went crazy over the little trees in Grandma.
We have an absolutely glorious quilt.
I'll show you. This is just a tiny quilt from that process with one of the circles and one of the quilts.
Oh my gosh! Oh,
I love them because every single one of these little trees, and then I did tons of circles.
The color is just here. Let me hold it because I feel like I have better color. I do. I have better
Isn't that
color
beautiful?
than you. Yeah.
And you can see her actual little tiny white stitches on here where she sewed it down.
Goes back to the beginning. A thing of beauty is a joy forever.
And it is. And I've loved it. I have used practically every scrap of this quilt in my artwork. So that was the inspiration, and it's just taken me to my circle paintings, to all kinds of different places.
So we wanted to use this to design a Friday shrug. Do you have something else to show?
This is the when I got done doing all the the little pine trees, all the little evergreens, I started making circles, and this was kind of my first taking vintage patchwork, not quilts, but the pieces that people left behind. And I used this is actually Grandma Johnson's.
So be very clear about that. I want to. These are people's unfinished quilt projects from the past, and Mom's reworking them. She's not cutting up finished quilts to make things. She's using their I just want to say, I want to pause and just honor you for that, because all of us creatives have so many unfinished things.
Yes, we do.
And the generosity and love of going in and finishing them, I
and
really
they're not
love.
Finished how they would have done
No,
them,
of course.
but they're finished and
they're being
something
used.
And I love them.
Yeah.
They're being honored.
Yeah.
And this, because Grandma Johnson's, I actually did take her quilt top and use it as fabric. But I felt entitled to do that because she was my grandmother.
Right.
And even with that, I've showed you before, if you've watched the quilt that we made out, the quilt that's hanging in our
Okay. So do you have anything more you want to say about this?
Well, I love this little quilt, and every time you hit where the white muslin is, you can see her little tiny white stitches. And I found out in doing this is why I don't apologize for having cut this quilt up, because through taking her fabric, and I, at my early young woman, thought, oh, she's not very, she didn't do a very good job. I found out in my research that she had cancer, like I did. She had cancer, and she was basically in her last 3 years of her life when she did this. So, and she was a busy, hardworking farm woman, so she wouldn't have had the time to do this.
Yeah.
So her
But she did it at all.
But she did it at all is amazing.
But she wanted something beautiful.
She wanted something beautiful. And also, I found out about her personally. She was like a pillar of her community. On her dying bed, when people came to see her, they kept saying she gave us back more. We came to comfort her, and she comforted us. So through the process of doing this,
you learned about her.
I learned about her.
Yeah.
And it was such a gift.
Right. And
so that's why I try to honor those women whose anonymously I find their blocks.
Well, and that's why, coming full circle to the bounty. Oh my gosh. Can you go get one of your circles paintings? So can you just share?
Yeah, how they're related. I know.
Isn't that sweet? The glare.
Yeah.
Wow. And your palettes. Honestly, this is 9. We could do a Soho Square, not a Soho Square, a Friday Shrug off of every one of these as well. But we're getting distracted. But do you want to talk about this for a minute? Have you talked about these before?
I think I have, but what happened is, like I said, in learning to watercolor, which is all new to me and a fun exploration, and I recommend to anybody, just pick up something new, because you get back to beginner's eye, you get back to the beginner's mind. And when I found out what happens when you take a wide, flat brush and twirl it with drenched color, and you get these circles, I exploded with joy.
Yeah.
Because I've been doing, and so they're color explorations, and I just love them.
So colors circles have been your thing for a while, and currently, like with my Shrug season, it was stripes.
Yeah.
So
you pick something and just kind of play with it.
Play with it. So this has a little E.E. Cummings poem in the beginning, but this was the palette inspiration for a Friday shrug. You could imagine that that would be an amazing center, right?
Yeah.
And then yeah.
Well, I mean, almost any page in here.
So,
I'll try
I'm
to find one
just
that's
feasting, looking. Yeah, that's a great one.
Okay.
Okay. So you can imagine that. And then you can imagine neutral on either side. So the surprise thing, obviously this fades in and out. You have some neutral on either end. And then this tip is really a delight. So we pulled up a big pile of linen quill, and I would like you to flash it. Okay, and then I want you to pick 3.
Oh, right. We were just, because they're all gorgeous colors. Yeah.
We had it like this.
Okay.
But then we
gorgeous.
changed it, but okay.
But we can, any of them would be perfect.
I know, but you have to hold them that's the wrong direction.
Okay.
Okay.
Is that the right direction?
Okay, we'll be right back. Okay, so we're just going to have me be the holder.
Because they're floppy.
Okay, so you could see how this would be interrupted by a little of the neutral, and you could have this as a pop. Do you want to grab the teal, perhaps? That would be an amazing pop. You know, even, I love that. Oh, yeah. That's really good.
Yeah.
So the tip is just the surprise. It just makes all the difference.
Mm-hmm. Oh, that would be gorgeous.
Yeah. So we just wanted to offer, that is so lovely. I love that. And can you imagine the shrug knit up? Oh,
it would be beautiful.
The fun thing which you don't realize when I just hold these in my elbow like this is that they fade in and out. So I'm curious to you, which would you like to have the center? This one be the center or this one be the center? Because the center only happens once.
Oh, okay. I love that one.
So the gold
because these are
center
more the same.
Because that'll be the focal point.
Oh, what you're saying is...
But if this is the center, there's less of it and it goes back out to that gold. If this is the center, there's gold on either edge. If this is the center... this is called pale celery. There's pale celery on either edge. Because remember the Friday...
Oh, I do like pale. And then that's on the edge.
Yeah,
and then
I think this should be the center.
Yeah, I do too.
The midpoint. So like in this particular shrug, it's pink pop. So it would be celery in the middle.
Yeah.
So anyways, that is how you do a Friday shrug. And what I want to do is help you make Friday shrugs, help you make Advent, shrugs, help you make Soho squares. I think, I have the whole palette of linen quill, and one day when I come in, when I'm back, I think it would be very fun to be able to call in or send me your inspiration photos, and we could play around and make some, because just making one out of a hat with no context, why?
Yeah.
But if you're celebrating this whole continuity, and for instance, I'm moving away. So can you imagine in that story of Grandma Johnson, you
and Grandma Gert,
was
her favorite,
and you and me in this shrug, the beauty of all of that, a family story, and to have them all together, and that's why Jay invited Sally to be a part of this residency too. Is Sally is fundamentally part of my creativity, and there is no sense of competition whatsoever. It is pure joy, we just bounce off of each other.
Oh, I know. I come down and I'll find one of my quilts and it has piles of yarn all around it.
Yes.
Something you're looking at it and going because I'm going, where did I put that? Because I'll be quilting on it. And I'm going, where did that go? And then I find it on the white table with lots of yarn next to it. So we both bounce our photographs. My Instagram is full of the times when I discover your yarn around my quilts.
And I know it's limited, so I can offer to help you, and I would love to, but maybe we'll figure out how to do it to value the time it takes.
Right, yeah.
But in the meantime, oh, mother, I just love it so much. I feel like it just has to happen. All right, we're going to press pause just so that we can properly say goodbye to you, and we'll be right back. So I wanted to circle back to these pieces because they were literally on my mind with, this will be my third skinny pop I've knit. So another skinny pop that I want to make that I haven't even started yet is a scrap one. Oh. And I Mom, do you see these stripes in here?
I do.
And do you see how they're exactly like my scarf?
It's beautiful.
I mean, and it's just like exactly what I've been doing. And like those proportions are so, it kind of gives me goosebumps. You know, like what you started and where I'm going. So this is okay. So this is the current. Can you just hold that down for a second? So this is the current one right now, and I literally chose these colors to combine blue and green because of the holidays being both. They've always been, you know, Christmas and Hanukkah,
right?
And little pop, like it's just silver and gold, and you know, just that whole like wintry feel and evergreen feel. So this was sort of the holiday one that I was doing, and seeing it in like literally I have so many scraps of yarn that I also wanted to do one this way. Okay, and so I just kind of got very
it's very exciting
seeing that and seeing the way inspiration, excuse me. I mean, this is literally what we said at the beginning. This is Sally and I sitting here, and you can imagine that the bounty, it is all sorts of different artists with different musicians, potters, woodworkers, oops, I have my seam showing, you know, designers, etc. The synergy, the connections, it's so vitalizing. It's just so vitalizing. So I think Mom has something she wants to say, though, so I don't want to conclude because I felt
all I wanted to make sure is that we tell the author of this book or the illustrator, because it did win a Caldecott. It's an awesome book. If you know, people will say, where do you get the little book? Because the little tree book itself.
It won the 2006 Caldecott. Chris Rashka. Yeah, he's amazing. And then the inspo poem is E.E. Cummings, and we might as well, you know, end with a poem. So it says, little tree, little silent Christmas tree, you are so little, you are more like a flower. Little tree, little silent Christmas tree, you are so little, you are more like a flower. Who found you in the green forest? And were you very sorry to come away? Yes. See? I will comfort you because you smell so sweetly. I will kiss your cool bark and hug you safe and tight, just as your mother would. Only don't be afraid. Look, the spangles that sleep all the year in the dark box, dreaming of being taken out and allowed to shine, the balls, the chains, red and gold, the fluffy threads. Put up your little arms, and I'll give them all to you to hold. Every finger shall have its ring, and there won't be a single place dark or unhappy. Then, when you're quite dressed, you'll stand in the window for everyone to see. Right here, yes. And how they'll stare. Oh, but you'll be very proud. And my little sister and I will take hands, and looking up at our beautiful tree, we'll dance and sing Noel, Noel. And there's the little tree getting its little hug.
I just love that book.
Mm-hmm.
Because it's just such a, we get the tree the day after Thanksgiving and go, it's a tradition, and it's one of my very favorite parts, because it holds all those memories of all those handmade ornaments that go away. I even made one of the little circles from Grandma Johnson's quilt, and it's on the tree.
Yep. So from Sally and I to all of you, wishing you peace, wishing you time, and wishing you love, wishing you moments with your friends, with your families, bring them close, wishing you sparkles. And
sparkles, yes, we need sparkles.
And celebrations. And thank you for watching. And if you're new here, there's notes down below when you'll get more information about what we talked about.
And if you're local, come to the Bounty on the weekends.
And if you're not and you're interested in supporting my residency through donating to the Goodman Center and finding out what sweaters are available that are actually for sale, you can call the Bounty and Jay can help you with that too. But anyways, it was just such a pleasure, Mom. I just want to...
I know.
I want to end with thanking you.
Well,
I know. So I obviously love her.
Yes, and I love her.
And thank you, Jay, for having us. It's just been such an unexpected. It's been so much more of a joy than we could have anticipated.
Oh, it's wonderful. Thank you.
Okay. Bye, everybody.